Hello again, Card Community. It's RJ. I'm on vacation this week. As I speak those words, I'm not on vacation. This is several weeks before my actual vacation. But as you are listening to this, as I have posted this video, I'm on vacation. So I have pre-recorded a series of videos that I thought would be interesting while I'm not available to address comments or anything like that. I'm going silent for a week just to spend some time with the family. So what I chose to do is to release one video a day for the next 7 days. And what I want to do is spend a little time going over my favorite set. Well, I shouldn't say it's my favorite set. This is my first set that I collected as a child. If you listen to my videos long enough, you will know that 1978 was the first year I collected baseball cards by buying packs of cards. So I'm going to go through the 1978 Topps set with everybody. And I mean, I want to go through every card. So there are 726 cards in the 1978 Topps set. I'm going to do about 105 a day, ballpark, and by the end of 7 days we will have taken a look at every card within the Topps 1978 set. Talk a little bit about the great players, talk a little bit about the marginal players, tell some good stories of things we remember as people. I hope you enjoy this trip down memory lane. I hope you get a chance to tell me some great stories about your remembrances of 1978, be it in life in general or some good 1978 Topps collectible stories. So let me get to it. I'm going to take down my outfield wall of my setup just so that I can put down the binder up. I have my 78, most of my older sets I have in binders. I think it's the best way to, certainly the best way to view a set. But it's how I want to keep them so I can look at them at my leisure. So, can I get a little closer with you so we can look at the cards of the players. Zoom out a bit, zoom out, zoom in, try and find just the right balance. Try and find the right elevation. That's a little too low. All right, so let me go a little higher even. Didn't want to be that far back, but I guess that's the way. All right, so I'm not sure if that's really good viewing per se. I hate to do it. Let me bring it up here. We'll just adjust as we need to. So this is the 1978 Topps set. As Topps was wont to do in the 70s and 80s and so forth, during the wax pack era, what they had typically was highlight cards, record breaker cards of the previous season. So these are the individuals. Frankly, they're not all Hall of Famers, but they all should be because you got Pete Rose there in the middle. So you have a series of cards here. You got Lou Brock up top. He set the all-time stolen base record there that year, past Ty Cobb. You have Sparky Lyle. Oh, I'm wrong. Sparky Lyle isn't a Hall of Famer either. I thought that was Catfish Hunter for a second. Nope. Most games in pure relief in a lifetime. I guess Sparky never started a game in his life before. You got Willie McCovey. Most times 2 home runs in 1 inning a lifetime. Brooks Robinson, most consecutive seasons with 1 club. Obviously that club would be the Orioles. I'm not sure if he set that or tied somebody else's record. Let me look real quick. Come over here. See what he says here. That's the new all-time mark. So Brooks Robinson played this 23rd season all with Baltimore. That was more than any other player had ever played with a single club, apparently. That's kind of cool for Brooksy. Ooh, going back. The most hits switch hitter lifetime for Pete Rose. That's hard, you know, not surprising, not hard to believe. Most games, 10 or more strikeouts in a lifetime, Nolan Ryan, Nolan's already only halfway through his career here in 1978. Not even halfway. It's less than half of his career spent, and he's already set the most games with 10 or more strikeouts in a lifetime. That explains one of the reasons why he got to 5,000 plus strikeouts. That's a sick number for a guy as young as Nolan was at that time. And you got Reggie Jackson, most homers in one World Series. He hit 5 in that World Series in '77, if you remember. I know Chase Utley in 2009, I like to brag on my Philly guys. Chase Utley hit 5 home runs in one World Series in 2009, even though he lost to the Yankees in 6. Chase Utley set the record. And then you get into the regular cards. So I want to take out this card real quick. Let's take a moment to admire a 1978 Topps card. I want to take a moment because this is the first one that's a numbered card after the highlights. This guy named Mike Sadek, I don't know how you pronounce it. I think he's the backup catcher of the Giants in that year. So you got the team script down here, a little baseball with stitches up there was the position, then a simple black text of the name. The color border here is like a bluish purplish. That color changes with every team. The color name changes with every team, but everyone's got the ball with the stitching in the black name. And then you got a post picture here. On the back, Topps. This one came with kind of a game on the back. Every card, it's a basic card, has this play ball, played by 2, and it was called a base on balls. Some of them actually have, if we go through them, we'll try and find one that has the directions on how to play the game. It's pretty much a card game, like War. You just flip over your cards, and you kept score based upon what this said. So it had the statistics, career statistics, the bio up top, like everything. And if they had extra room, they'd give you a little bit more information. One of the things I love about Topps, a big fan of Topps always, is the complete year stats. Now, they've stopped that in recent years, but in the old days here, they always had the complete stats of a person, the important ones, average, RBIs, home runs, stolen bases. This one didn't even have stolen bases, hits, doubles, triples, runs, at-bats, and games. The basic stats. I loved seeing stats. I loved having all the stats because it helped you know who the great players were. So that's Mike Sadek, the basic card. It showed what the basic Topps card was. Doug DeCences from the Orioles was a great infielder. He's third base here, but I think he played a couple different infield positions. All right, moving on. I'm going to go up and down here, I'm sorry. Trying to get high enough to see. Here you have Phil Niekro, Hall of Famer with the Braves, wearing his warm-up jacket, probably in spring training, I guess. I don't know, but spring training is a pretty big stadium, but Phil Niekro, the Braves. Rick Manning, outfielder with the Indians. Don't know much about Rick Manning. Red Sox pitcher Don Ace. I'm not sure if it's Ace or Assy, or I don't want to... I'm pretty sure it's Ace. I'm going to call him Ace. You have Art Howe here. Art was a member of the Astros. He's second base there, but he was first base, I remember, in the World Series, not the World Series, the playoffs in 1980 with my Phils. Art Howe was also the manager of the Oakland A's in the Moneyball era. The story of the Moneyball, if you remember, Art Howe was the manager at the time, and they made a big stink about how him and Billy Beane didn't get along. I'm not sure how true it is, but that was one of the central storylines in the movie Moneyball. Laron LeGros. Laron LeGros, I don't know much about, but I remember I'm trying to put together an all-time Phillies team. Laron LeGros pitched briefly for the Phillies late in his career, and I don't even know if a pick card exists with him in a Phillies uniform. So here's your Hall of Famer Tony Perez, briefly with the Expos. If you remember, it was right after '76, the second time the Reds won that World Series title, that the owner of the Reds broke up the team and everybody went different ways. Rose came to the Phillies in '78, or '79. I mean, Tony Perez obviously went to the Expos in '77. Ken Griffey was off to a different team. I mean, all the members of that great Big Red Machine teams were suddenly farmed out to a bunch of different teams. So here you see Tony Perez, not with the Reds, but with the Expos. And you got Roy White, outfielder on the Yankees. Mike Krukow, I think he played with the Phillies briefly too. Bobby Grich, a lot of talk recently I heard about thinking about Bobby Grich as a Hall of Famer. And if you look at his statistics, comparable to some other infielders of his day, he was a shortstop. I know he played shortstop and second base a lot, the middle infield positions for the Angels. A couple other teams back in the day. He was definitely, Bobby was, a Hall of Fame worthy thing. And I want to take his card out because I want to show you, like I said, every once in a while on the back of one of these cards, you'd get the rules to the play ball game. It wasn't a play based on balls, hit, home run, or whatever, but you get this play ball rules here. And it was interesting too. You'd think that if you're going to do a home run, well, the home run should be like, Willie McCovey, Mike Schmidt, and so nope. Here's Roy White. Roy White was a home run, so. They mixed it up a lot, so you didn't necessarily get a good thing from one of the players, even if it was a home run kind of hitter. He didn't necessarily have the home run as his thing. Up top there, you got Darrell Porter, was a great catcher, longtime catcher for the Royals. Right next to Pete Rose. Can't say enough about Pete Rose. He was still with the Reds at this time. Tiger outfielder Steve Kemp, longtime pitcher Charlie Huff, longtime pitcher because he was a knuckleballer. Lasted forever. He was into the early 90s. He still pitched. He was actually taken by the Marlins in the '93 expansion draft. He started as he was one of the first players on the Marlins team back then. Bump Wills. He's got the Gold Cup card. Don't know much about him as a player because he wasn't a star. Didn't last too long as a great player. But Bump Wills has an error card in this set. It's a recognized error. If you know your 1978 top sets, there's a black circle in this position, just like somebody accidentally used a magic marker and circled something. And some of those went out to print, and you can find out there online if you're looking for a master set, the Bump Wills error card. And what it is, like I said, it's a little black circle right there. Don Money was a former Philly. You got John Matlack down there at the bottom. Matlack pitcher with the Mets. Richie Hebner, first baseman for the Phillies. He was not on the 80 team, but he was a Philly back in the mid to late 70s. Richie Hebner he had a nickname called the Grave Digger because literally he was a grave digger in the off season. You got to remember this was just after free agency and people were still, scrounging for money. Ball players didn't make as much as they do today. The stars made good money. The scrubs like Richie Hebner were making, salaries that an average person would make, maybe a little higher, but they had a lot of expenses and they still worked on, most of these guys still had off-season jobs because baseball didn't pay their salary. And then you got Jeff Zahn down here, pitcher for the Twins. Richie Hebner was the grave digger. All right, they had Ed Ott. I always remember a trivia question. Ed Ott, the catcher for the Pirates here. And we said Ed Ott had the shortest name by number of letters in baseball history. I don't know if his full name was Ed or Edward, but that was always a trivia question. Ed Ott. If you look on the back, it just says Ed Ott, doesn't say anything else. Not that it would, but interesting trivia question there. Bob Lacey, pitcher for the A's. George Hendrick with the Padres. He's an outfielder. George Hendrick had a pretty good career, long career. Glenn Abbott, Mariners pitcher. Gary Templeton on the Cardinals. Gary Templeton was traded straight up, might have been a couple throw-ins, but I thought it was pretty straight up for Ozzie Smith later on. Yes, you'll see Gary Templeton on the Cardinals here. Then in a couple of years, you'll have a couple Ozzie Smith cards on the Padres. And then eventually Gary Templeton's on the Padres and Ozzie Smith's on the Cardinals. They were straight up for somebody. Here's Dave Lemanchik, one of those hard to pronounce names. A couple Hall of Famers down here at the bottom. You got your Willie McCovey base card here, first baseman for the Giants. Sparky Lyle, great relief pitcher. He played for the Phillies briefly during the '80 season. Didn't make it to the postseason squad, but he was a pitcher for the Phillies briefly. And here's your Eddie Murray rookie card. This is my Eddie Murray rookie card. It is badly off center, so I'm not ever sending this to PSA or anything. He was the Gold Cup guy that year, if you know Eddie. Hall of Famer now. You got Rick Bates. Willie Montanez with a Philly at one time. Floyd Bannister, fair pitcher for a number of teams after this one. Here's your Yaz card, Carl Yastrzemski. Later part of his career, he played into the 80s, shouldn't pitch. Bert Hooton, great story about Bert Hooton. 77 and 78, the Phillies made it to the postseason against the Dodgers. And there's classic film of Bert Hooton in the first game at the Veterans Stadium one year, just getting hounded by the fans so much that he kept walking everybody, giving up singles. He was pitching terribly, and the Philly fans just was riding him something fierce, and he was getting madder and madder and madder. Finally, Tommy Lasorda took him out, and he just blew up in the dugout. It's great theater for me as a Phillies fan, just saying. George Orta, decent player for the White Sox. There's Bill Atkinson down here, don't know him from the Expos. Toby Harrop was a serviceable player many years. And in the infield, here he is with third baseman with the Rangers. Here's your Mark Fidrych, the Bird. Fidrych had that one great season and was never as good again and didn't last much into the 80s, where he was gone for good. This was actually a little later than his fantastic season. His fantastic season was 76. So it would have been his 77 card would have been the big one. This is his 78. Al Cowens. Al Cowens, if you know Al Cowens was the guy who was driving the white Bronco during the O.J. Simpson chase. There's Al Cowens up there. Jack Billingham, great pitcher for the Reds. Don Baylor, fantastic all-around ball player. I want to say he has the most hit by pitches still to this day. I could be wrong about that. But Don Baylor was a longtime great player, manager, borderline Hall of Famer, but he's one of those guys whose career was so lasting and impactful, he should almost get consideration just for that. Ed Kranepool, historical Met guy. Here's Rick Russell, serviceable pitcher for many years. Here he is with the Cubs. Had a brother named Paul. I think we see him later on in this set. Charlie Moore, great catcher for the Brewers teams. Here's Jim Longborg on the Phillies. Jim Longborg was a Red Sox Cy Young Award winner, and we traded for him, got him on the Phillies, and he was okay, but never as great as he had been that year with the Red Sox. Phil Garner, fantastic player for the Pirates. Tom Johnson, have no idea about Tom Johnson. Mitchell Page up here. Mitchell Page, the Gold Cup guy for the A's. A's had a lot of young players back in this day. A lot of great young players, but they had just won those 3 World Series in the early 70s, and they went through a long period of mediocrity and got big again back in the Bash Brothers era with McGuire and Canseco. Randy Jones won a Cy Young for the Padres, 76. Danny Meyer, don't know him. Bob Forsch, had a brother named Ken, but Bob Forsch was a quality pitcher for a long time, starter. Otto Velez, Blue Jays outfielder. Here's your Thurman Munson card. This would have been Thurman's last card. Marvell Blanks, heck of a name, Blanks, but hey. Jim Barr and Don Zimmer's a manager. Manager cards that year were like this. They would take a picture of the manager, and then they would try and show a picture of his playing days. And you'll see that some of them are major league pictures, like this is a picture of Zimmer with the Dodgers. Some of them are just minor leaguers because they never made it to the majors. And then on the back, it's kind of cool because they have his career stats as a player. It's a really neat card of a manager who maybe he was famous as a manager, not a player, to actually get a sense of what kind of a player he was in his day. Here's your Don Zimmer version. You got a guy named Gene Pence up there for the Astros. Ken Singleton was a longtime quality player for the Orioles. Loved Ken Singleton. You got your White Sox team card. I'm a big fan of the team cards. Love the team cards. Here's the White Sox, our first team card. I was a big fan of the team cards, and I was a guy, guys might kill me today, but I was a guy who would fill out the checklists. I actually have some of my older cards still, and I would check off everybody once I got them. Never completed a set in my youth, but I would use the checklists on the back to make sure I had every person on that team as part of my set. Get in there. All right, they got Claudell Washington on the Rangers, great player. Steve Falcott, don't know Falcott. Mike Vail, I remember he was a decent player for some time. Here's your Goose Gossage card, Hall of Famer now. With the Yankees, he bumped around to a whole bunch of teams in his career. Terry Humphrey was a decent catcher, backup. Here's your Andre Dawson card. Now here's a cup card for Dawson. This is not his rookie card because he actually had one of those multiple rookie cards in the 77 set. So his rookie card is 77, but here he is with his gold cup. It doesn't even look like him. If you know Dawson's face, that, to me, I never looked like Dawson. I know it is, but that, for some reason, that picture never looked to me like Andre Dawson. Moving on. The Royals, Andy Hasler, checklist. I love the checklists too. Some people out there collect checklists, just checklists, because they're rare. Nobody liked the checklist. Kids would throw them out. Kids would mark them up. And there's a premium on unmarked vintage checklists. They go for a good chunk of change, in case you're interested. Here's your Dick Ruthven card. He was a Phillies pitcher during our World Series team in 1980. Steve Olivares, a good player. Ed Kirkpatrick, don't know a lot about Ed. Pablo Turrialba, no clue who that is. sorry, Pablo. Daryl Johnson, Mariners Mariner. Here's Ken Griffey, obviously senior, not junior, looking really young there. Remember, he played into the 90s with his kid. So this is the 78 card. He would have been fairly young, late 20s likely in this picture. And then there's Pete Redfern, Twins pitcher. I'm going to do about 100 cards today, and then I'll do another 100 tomorrow for you. The Giants team card, Bob Montgomery, Red Sox backup catcher. Kent DeColvey, always loved Kent DeColvey. The great thing about Kent DeColvey's cards, if you go through them during the period of the 70s and 80s, Kent was always captured pitching for some reason. I never saw a posed picture, ever, on a Topps card of Kent DeColvey. You know, I see pictures all the time in posed shots. I mean, look at this Dave Tomlin card. You'll see posed pictures all the time. Never Kent DeColvey. He's always shown in action. I don't know why they did that, or if it was intentional or unintentional, but you could literally take his cards from, like, I don't know, 73 through, 80, and just string them together, and you could make a full pitching motion for Kent DeColvey. I always loved that about Kent DeColvey. You got Ron Fairley on the Blue Jays, Dave Tomlin, Johnny Lowenstein. Down there you got Mike Phillips, Ken Clay, and here's the Larry Bowa. Larry Bowa was a borderline Hall of Famer, I think. He was a long-time great defensive shortstop. Couldn't hit a lot, but I think his defense kind of like Ozzie Smith. I'm biased, I know. What can I tell you? I don't mind you ribbing me on that statement. I'm biased. Oscar Zamora on the Astros. I have no idea who that is. Adrian Devine, no clue. There's a young Bobby Cox on the Braves. Bobby was not with the Braves as a manager the whole time from this point all through his Hall of Fame career late in the day. If you want to take a look at Bobby's back, I know that Bobby did play briefly for the Yankees teams, but most of the information back here is the minor league variety. But you can see there in 68 and 69, he made it to the Yankees for a couple seasons. So Bobby was a teammate of Mickey Mantle's for a series of games in 68. So that's pretty cool if you're Bobby Cox. So you were a teammate of Mickey Mantle's, So, but that was his only major league experience. He played in the minors from, if you take a look at this, from 60 and then through 71 before breaking into managing and coaching and all that. He was briefly a major league player, which is, let's be honest, is more than we can say. So congratulations, Bobby. Get you back in your spot here. You got Chuck Scrivener, nice name. Jamie Quirk, I remember, as a serviceable major leaguer for a couple years there. Orioles team card. This is before Cal Ripken Jr., people. We're talking 78 here. Stan Bonson, decent pitcher here and there. Jim Essien, a backup catcher. I would always get his cards. Whenever I bought cards, he'd always be one of the first ones I got. Willie Hernandez was on the Phillies in the mid-'80s, but also, if you know Willie Hernandez, the thing about Willie is he was a Cy Young winner for the Tigers in their 84 season when they went to the World Series. He was a reliever, and he absolutely dominated in 84, which is what helped the Tigers get to and win the World Series that year, because Willie Hernandez was on fire. Here's his 78 card. It might be considered his rookie card, I suppose. Don't think it has any value, though. There's your George Brett. Sid Manji. I just always loved that name, Sid Manji. Go to Matt Alexander. I'm already at 100 cards, so this will be the end of the video. Matt Alexander. Tom Murphy on the Blue Jays. Lee Lacy. Reggie Cleveland. Bill Plummer, excuse me. Ed Halicki and Von Joshua. Von Joshua, I remember, as a decent player for a number of years. You know, not fantastic, but certainly all-star quality once in a while. So there you have it. Those are a little bit further than 105, but my first grouping of cards. Hope you appreciate that. I hope you're enjoying this. Again, I'm on vacation now, so I'm pre-recording this, and I'm going to release one a day. And we'll see where it goes. Every day on my vacation, I'm going to take like 5 minutes to upload the video, and no real comments, just here you go, enjoy. Don't want to spend too much time when I'm with the fam. So thanks for watching, and check in again tomorrow for the next series of cards. Thanks. Take care.